It's a little bit too difficult to explain properly, but it's this that, you know, the two complementary things. And today I feel that the purpose of these countries around this particular line is mostly that the best they can contribute is to contribute to a unification of the mentalities of the East and the West, and then all that goes with it. And as I said earlier, I think we're in for a big shift again in the relationship between East and West. And this time it will be to the detriment of the Western Hemisphere, or especially then to the detriment of the UK and the US. What will that mean, and what especially will that mean for these nations that are located on this central axis? I cannot tell, except then to say that it should provide some kind of a opportunity to play a balancing role and to play a unifying role in these fairly turbulent times we see ahead.
When you are a doctor and you have worked a lot in Sweden and also with cancer and all these things, when we do a lot about electrosmog in Denmark, but in Sweden you have always been better in science. That's probably because you're in the Eastern Hemisphere. You have also created very good researchers, very good scientists. And in Denmark it's like, you know, Denmark is like saying no to all that comes from Sweden. It's not good enough. And that would be that Denmark so much is the left hemisphere, and Sweden perhaps is a bit more the right hemisphere. Have a bigger picture.
A little bit, yeah. And now, of course, you know, Denmark is a little bit smaller country, and Denmark has had Niels Bohr, one of the major scientists of the 20th century. There is Ørsted, there is a couple of others I don't remember. So I don't think there is a particularly big difference in that regard. But I think there is a mentality difference between the countries that has to do with this location. And when you go to Finland, it's even more marked, so to speak. They are more sort of deeply intuitive and not as, you know, in my experience anyway, not as sort of mentally like Danish and Norwegians.
I saw on the world tree how you put the different regions. So Berlin would be like hypothalamus of the brain.
Yeah.
And then Denmark, Scandinavia would be like the pineal gland.
Yeah.
And then I just smiled because the pineal gland is very sensitive to electrosmog. Yeah. So that's probably why there's so much research going on in these countries.
Yeah.
But then I saw the chakras. You put the chakras on the world tree as well. And then it looks like we have the crown chakra in Denmark.
Uh-huh.
And then I think about Martinus, the Danish spirit philosopher who made a cosmology.
Yes.
And he said something about, you know, the light must go out from Denmark or Scandinavia, or the new way of, so perhaps it needs to break down there first to be an example of we don't know, but perhaps.
Yeah, you know, these are small countries in the world, of course, but you know, compared to their size, they play a relatively large role anyway. And I think, you know, that since I'm Swedish, I always look at what are the trends going on in Sweden, which I'm most familiar with then, and it turns out that those trends are really often something that, you know, it's like the pineal gland, up there, it sort of picks up things that then later are spread. You know, I'm thinking about this with the so-called pirate party in Sweden, that suddenly sends a person to the European Parliament, and I think this is a typical phenomenon of Scandinavia. The interest in communication is extreme up there, and the trend today is, towards the sharing of information and finding new ways of doing it, and that's really what concerns many young people today, and even if this now only has happened in Sweden, my sense is that that's a phenomenon that will spread. In a few years I would think that we come into a world where sharing is the basic principle. And so I just hope that people like myself who hold some copyrights for some books and stuff like that would be able to make an extra buck occasionally in this situation. I still hope so, but I also see that the trend is going in another direction.
Actually, when we say the trend is going in another direction, the time might be right now for just put the things out on the internet, free download, but from donations. And then I know it's difficult because we have to wait for enough people to get there. But actually, we should all just put everything out for free. And then it should be okay, because we all should be sharing and supporting and appreciating what we get.
Yeah.
This is why we do this talk, is also to put it out on the internet and to get more people to study your work and research, because you have researched a lot for so many years, and then you also need to get a credit for it. You need to have some energy for what you have done.
Yeah. It's sort of, we are a little bit in between worlds in that regard, I think. We have come to realize that we cannot hold on just to what we own in terms of property rights or copyrights or anything like that, but we have not really yet come to the point where people are sharing on an equal basis, and so in this situation it becomes this kind of a piracy, but I think that's really a situation which is in between the worlds. We're sort of very intensely now starting a transition to another world, and all kinds of conflicts and turmoils and things like that will occur in this transitional period, where probably nobody will know exactly what the rules are.
Talking about we are transitioning to a new world or new Earth. I've been thinking a lot about when we entered into the galactic period in '99, and it lasts for 12 years, and it should be a very ethical period. It's also a period where we see some, you can say, I wouldn't say perhaps dark forces, or perhaps the power elite still trying to hold on, and we have probably seen all kinds of unethical things since '99 going on, and we only got 2 more years to go. That means a lot of things will come to an end now. Is the next period from November 2009 and the next year, that's about balancing to harmonize things, and will that be a bit bumpy with
Yeah, no, I think the balance that will emerge is probably after this year, because I think it will be most likely, I think, there will be some kind of a intensified economic downfall, and especially then in the value of certain currencies, Western currencies.